I thought my parents were memory keepers. Turns out they were running a decades-long heist. Every photo, every family trip, every object I thought we rescued was stolen. And now the evidence has my name on it in handwriting I can't deny. I used to think my parents were eccentric. Now I think they were curators of a crime scene and I was the tour guide. You ever look back on your childhood and wonder if the magic was real, or if someone just made sure you never saw the locks on the doors? Hi, I'm Emma. I'm 27. And my entire identity was built around things that never belonged to us. We called it the archive. It wasn't a room or a shelf. It was everything. Every road trip, every family photo, every weird old object we brought back from some forgotten place. An antique compass, a velvet jewelry box, a cracked portrait of a woman no one could name. It all went into the archive. My dad said it was our job to preserve what the world threw away. My mom said we were keepers of memory. And as a kid, I thought that made us special. Mission-driven. Like ghost hunters, but for history. They even made it fun. We had gear, matching wax jackets with secret pockets, custom sketchbooks, instant film cameras with our initials on the side. Every summer, we'd pile into our old Chevy van and drive to places marked with nothing but faded pins on my dad's map. The ruins of an old sanitarium in Vermont. A decommissioned naval bunker near the Maine coast. A hollowed-out boarding school with Latin mottos carved into the floorboards. We'd crawl through broken windows, photograph everything, collect unclaimed heirlooms. My dad called them salvaged stories. My mom would clean and catalog them. And we'd come home with the van packed like a pirate ship after looting. I thought we were rescuing history. I didn't know we were erasing someone else's. The first time I ever saw a photo of our house in a magazine, it was labeled Architectural Nostalgia, inside a home frozen in time. I remember reading the caption and feeling a strange kind of pride. But also a tug. Something quiet. Something I ignored. Because the truth is, you don't question the people who taught you how to believe, even when the story stops making sense. You ever feel nostalgia for a memory that wasn't even yours? I do. And the worst part? I helped build the lie. I took the pictures that proved we'd been there. I cataloged objects in my mom's spreadsheet. I even gave names to some of the rooms. We had rules. Never take anything that's actively used. Always enter through a side door. Leave no fingerprints, only footsteps. But one trip changed everything. And I didn't realize it until last year when the FBI showed up at my apartment, holding one of my childhood photos as evidence. I laughed. At first. Because I didn't understand. Because how could I? It was a photo of me, maybe 11 years old, sitting in a broken chair, holding a globe. But behind me, a painting. Framed. Intact. Unmistakable. One of them missing. They told me it had been stolen from a fire-damaged manor house in 2003, and that they tracked it down through a series of estate sales. But the nail in the coffin? Was that photo. My handwriting. The date scrawled on the back. The location my dad insisted I write down for the archive. And suddenly my whole childhood flipped. What if we weren't preserving? What if we were just really good at stealing? You probably think I should have known. Maybe I should have. But when your parents turn a crime into a family tradition, it doesn't feel like theft. It feels like love. Like legacy. Until the knock on the door says otherwise. I opened the box they handed me that night. Inside? One of my old sketchbooks. A map. A list of addresses. And 3 words scrawled in red ink. Items worth saving. You ever wonder if your childhood was just a cover story? Yeah. Same. The compass from our first trip was still inside the box, but someone had scratched out the initials on the back. And beneath it, a sticky note I hadn't written, she knows. Burned the rest. You ever tell yourself a story so many times that even the lies feel nostalgic? I did. For years. I told myself our family was strange in a charming way. That we were time travelers. Archivists. Memory keepers. Not thieves. After the agents left, I sat on the floor with the sketchbook in my lap for hours. Not crying. Not moving. Just staring. Every line I'd drawn. Every address I'd labeled. Every little note in the margins. Attic beams rotten, but brass chandelier still intact. Hidden crawl space under library stairs. Likely untouched. Emma, do not forget to photograph green hallway mural, Dad. It didn't feel like a childhood journal anymore. It felt like inventory. I couldn't sleep that night. I just kept turning pages. And by 4 a.m., I noticed something I'd never really registered before. Every trip had a title. Not poetic names like I used to think. They were coded. Operation Widow's Nest. Recovery, Birch Hollow. Entry log, Fox Chapel Series Number 4. Like chapters in a manual. Or missions. I flipped to the back. A loose photo slid out, one I'd never seen. It was a close-up of a woman's face. Mid-40s. Elegant. Pale lipstick. Her eyes were wide like she just turned toward the camera. Not posed. Caught. Behind her? One of the chairs in our old dining room. I dropped it like it burned. Because that meant that chair hadn't come from an estate sale. That chair had come from her house. And my dad took that photo. I started tearing through the rest of the box fast. Panicked. There were envelopes tucked inside the map folds. Old receipts. Catalog tags. Auction house paperwork. Except none of them matched. Different item IDs. Altered dates. Fabric swatches that had clearly been torn off and stapled to the inside corners of a binder. It was like watching someone reverse engineer truth. You probably think I called someone. The cops. My brother. A lawyer. But I didn't. I just froze. Because if I said it out loud, it became real. And because part of me, the worst part, still wanted it to not be true. To believe that we were still just weird, nostalgic adventurers. That maybe this was all some huge misunderstanding. But denial's a soft blanket. Until it suffocates you. I went to bed at 5 a.m., clothes still on. Dreamed of basements. Dust. Locks. When I woke up the next afternoon, I did something stupid. I messaged my brother Isaac. He's 25. Lives in Connecticut. Still talks to them. Still goes on drives with my dad. Still posts Instagram stories with captions like reclaiming forgotten spaces. I sent one sentence. Do you remember the woman with the lipstick? He left me on read. An hour later, I got a voice memo. Emma, come on. Don't do this. Don't let them get in your head. No name. No answer. Just a warning from my own brother not to question the past. I wish I could say that made me angrier than scared. But it didn't. Because if he knew who she was, that meant he'd known for a long time. And if he didn't know, then maybe he was protecting the lie. Either way, he wasn't protecting me. You ever realize the people you love are fluent in secrets? Later that night, I pulled out one of the jackets from the back of my closet. The old road trip jacket. The one with the hidden pockets. I ran my hand along the seam. Felt something hard, flat, tucked in the lining. It was a key. No label. Just a number etched on the metal. 137B. I stared at it like it might start talking. Because I remembered the last trip we took together. I was 17. It was the only time we ever stayed in a motel instead of camping. My dad said it was necessary for the mission. We visited a shuttered orphanage upstate. The building had been sold but not yet cleared, he said. We only stayed one night. But that key? That wasn't from a motel. That was from the storage unit. The one my parents told me didn't exist anymore. I looked up the address on the back of the old sketchbook. Handwritten in pencil, smudged from age. Unit 137B, Westlock Mini Storage, Middletown. I checked Google. Still open. Still active. Still under the name H. Caldwell. My mother's maiden name. I didn't sleep that night either. Because there's a difference between wondering if your parents lied and knowing they're still lying. The key was warm in my hand, like someone had touched it recently. And when I checked the login for the security cam system listed on the sketchbook's back page, the last entry was from 2 weeks ago. From Isaac's phone. There's a moment right before truth lands where your brain still tries to barter. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe the key's just a coincidence. But then the door opens. I drove to the storage unit the next morning. 3-hour ride, no music. Just my thoughts bouncing around like they were trying to claw their way out. The storage complex looked exactly how I remembered. Dusty. Beige. Rows of metal doors with padlocks. But they'd upgraded the gate system, now it needed a code. I typed in 0627, my mom's birthday. The gate rolled open. Of course it did. Unit 137B was near the back. Shaded by the overpass. Quiet. Out of sight. I slid the key in. Click. The moment the door creaked open, it felt like stepping into a sealed-off piece of my own memory. And then, like waking up in someone else's nightmare. There were hundreds of items in there. Furniture covered in sheets. Framed oil paintings. Stacks of labeled boxes. Hollow Creek Trip. Windmere Recovery. Salvage. 2007, 2011, 2014. I peeled back one sheet. Underneath, a stained glass window. Still intact. Still glowing. I remembered the church we'd pulled that from, or what my dad had said. That it was going to be demolished. That no one cared. But someone had left flowers on the pews. I remembered that too. A single rose. Tucked inside a hymnal. I opened another box. Books. All first editions. Inscribed. Personal. To my darling and happy anniversary, 1961. To TM, may this bring you joy on dark days. None of it was ours. None of it should have ever been touched. In the back corner was a metal filing cabinet. And taped to the top drawer one of my childhood drawings. A house on a hill. Clouds above it. In red crayon I'd written. Saved. I wanted to throw up. I pulled open the drawer. Inside, documents. Folders of travel logs, Polaroids, purchase records, altered receipts. And a USB drive. No label. I took it. I don't even remember the drive home. All I know is I didn't speak to a single person until I plugged the thing into my laptop. There were 3 folders. EXIF. Journal logs. Family vault. I opened the logs first. Typed entries. All signed, EC, my dad's initials. One of them stopped me cold. Log, August 18, 2009. Emma did well today. No hesitation. Took initiative photographing the stairwell while I cataloged the hall closet. She's learning. I worry sometimes about her sensitivity, but long-term I believe she'll see the value in the work. History belongs to those who care enough to save it, even when it's messy. You ever feel your skin go cold from the inside out? I was 14 in 2009. And he was already treating me like an apprentice. Like a co-conspirator. I clicked into the EXIF folder. It was metadata dumps, timestamps, coordinates, file names from every trip. Some were tagged wipe originals. Others had notes like reframed, kept smalls, checked by IC. Isaac. My little brother had helped verify stolen metadata. I opened the last folder. Family vault. Inside, just one video. Sparrow recording, confidential.mov. I didn't want to press play. I did anyway. The video showed my mom, sitting in what looked like a motel room, hair tied up, voice calm. She was holding a catalog binder. She looked at the camera like she'd done this before. There's no ethical consumption of history, she said. That's what he told me. That's what I believe. She turned a page. People abandon what they can't hold. Our job is to hold it. Keep it from fading. Context is for the weak. She smiled. Soft. Like a teacher explaining something beautiful to a student. And then she said my name. Emma's got the eye. She knows how to find what matters. I slammed the laptop shut. You ever hear someone use your name like it belongs to a crime? It doesn't matter how many times you thought they loved you. In that moment, all I could feel was used. Like I'd been shaped, not raised. I sat on the floor again. Same position as the night the FBI came. Same gut punch. But this time, something inside me clicked. I wasn't a child anymore. And I wasn't going to be part of the silence. So I made a choice. I packed a bag. Copied the USB. Sent a message to a contact listed on the original search warrant, as Special Agent Morales. And then I did something I hadn't done in over a year. I called my parents. My dad picked up. Emma, he said, warm like nothing was wrong. We were just talking about you. The USB was still glowing in the port. And my hands wouldn't stop shaking. And then my dad said, you've been back to the unit, haven't you? There's a special kind of silence that follows betrayal. It's not peaceful. It's acidic. Like your body is still trying to process shock, even while your brain starts drawing new blueprints for survival. That's where I've been living. Somewhere between the numbness of survival and the ache of knowing this will never make sense. 3 months have passed since I called Agent Morales. The case moved faster than I expected, or maybe I just didn't understand how much the government already knew. Turns out they've been tracking unauthorized historical extraction cases for years. They called my parents pattern offenders. They used words like methodical, coordinated, long-term intent. I still call them mom and dad. Well, I used to. They were arrested 2 weeks after my call. Isaac wasn't. He claimed he thought it was all part of the restoration work. And somehow that lie worked. Now he's walking free. Posting old photos from our road trips with captions like, "Memory is a revolution. Stay curious. You ever want to scream at a phone screen?" I moved cities. Changed my number. Told almost no one where I went. I'm in a shared sublet now. Brick walls, no kitchen table. But at least nothing here is stolen. The media had a field day. Couple accused of decades-long art heist posed as historic preservationists. heirloom hunters, or criminal curators? They use phrases like museum-worthy theft and American Gothic meets Ocean's 11. But you know what no one asked? What happens to the daughter who documented it all? You ever feel like the whole world is fascinated by your pain but not interested in your healing? I started seeing a therapist. Her name's Jen. She asks questions like, how do you separate what you remember from what was real? Sometimes I want to scream at her too, but instead I answer, I don't know, I said last week. I think I still want them to love me. She nodded. That doesn't make you complicit. That makes you human. I didn't cry in that session, but when I got home, I opened one of the old sketchbooks. Page 12, a drawing of a rusted swing set. Captioned, Playground in Fog. Felt like ghosts might still be there. The handwriting was mine, but the words? I think they were planted. I remember my dad helping with captions. Let's make it poetic, he used to say. Let's make people feel the weight of loss. Except now I think the loss was never theirs to feel. It belonged to the people whose lives they'd scavenged. I've started a new sketchbook. Blank pages. No instructions. No maps. Just me. I draw ugly on purpose sometimes. Hands that don't look like hands. Buildings that lean too far. Because I want this one to be mine, crooked and honest and entirely uncurated. You ever try to relearn your own voice? It's harder than it sounds. I got a letter last week. No return address. But I knew the handwriting. It was my mom. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Emma, you don't have to understand. But please know we were trying to build something that wouldn't be erased. That's all we ever wanted. Love always. M. That's the moment I realized something important. They never thought they were stealing. They thought they were saving stories by rewriting them, including mine. I didn't respond, because I don't owe them understanding, and I don't want their definition of love anymore. The swing set I drew at age 10? It's still standing. I saw a picture online. A family redid the park. And I'm not in the photo. Not in the caption. Not even a ghost in that story. Just free of it. But yesterday I got an email from Isaac. Subject line. Need to talk. She's out. You ever feel your stomach drop just from a subject line? She's out. That was it. No punctuation. No context. No name. But I knew exactly who Isaac meant. My mom. Released on bail pending trial. Which, by the way, no one thought to tell me, not my lawyer contact, not the media, not the court. Just my brother. Dropping that line like a live grenade in my inbox. I didn't reply for 2 days. But I read the email. Over and over. Emma, I know you don't want to talk to me. I get that. But she showed up at my apartment yesterday. She asked for you. Said she had something you needed to see. He didn't include what. He didn't say no. Just, I think you should come. First I thought no way. Let them rot in their archive of lies. But then something shifted in me. Not forgiveness. Not even curiosity. Just a need to face the thing that still had power over me. So I went. Not to forgive. To confront. Isaac lived in a condo complex across the river. Modern building. Big glass windows. Perfectly staged life. Funny how someone raised among ruins chooses the sleekest lines money can buy. He buzzed me in without saying a word. When I got to his door, it was already open. She was sitting on the couch, wearing the same scarf she used to wrap around my neck when I was sick. Same soft pink. Same smell of lavender and old paper. Hi, Em, she said. Like we were catching up. Like nothing had exploded. I didn't sit. You came here for a reason, I said. Say it. She looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I was just seeing clearly for the first time. She pulled a box from her tote bag. Familiar. Black. Metal edges. Like the ones from the storage unit. I kept this separate, she said. Even from your father. Inside journals. Not mine. Hers. Handwritten thick pages. Every line dated. Documented. I started writing them when we began. The real beginning. Before you were born. I didn't reach for them. I don't want your rationalizations, I said. Or your curated grief. Her voice didn't rise. But something in her eyes cracked. You think I wanted this life? She said. Emma. Do you know what I gave up to build this? I said nothing. She laughed. Bitter. I wanted to be a historian. Not a ghost. Not a thief's wife. But your father, he said we could save things. Give them new homes. I believed him. You taught me how to lie, I said. Simple. Quiet. You made it feel like love. Her hand dropped from the journal. I know, she whispered. And I don't expect forgiveness. But I couldn't let this die with us. You deserve to know everything. I picked up the top journal. The cover said, Sparrow Record Full Index. Inside, an itemized list. Objects. Locations. The original owners when known. The exact dates they were taken. Some even had restitution notes. I tried to track what I could, she said. The paintings. The Bibles. The quilts. Some were sold. I think we can return. That word hit harder than it should have. I'm not part of this anymore, I said. Then I asked the question I'd avoided for months. Why me? She looked up. You were always watching, she said. And I was always afraid if you started asking questions, you'd be the one to break it all. I nodded. Because that part at least was true. I was the one who broke it. You ever feel like the scapegoat and the cleanup crew at the same time? I left the journal on the table. I'll take a copy, I said. For the court. She flinched. But she didn't argue. As I turned to go, she stood up, slow, like her bones were heavier now. I miss you every day, she said. Even the parts of you that hate me. I didn't answer. Because she didn't deserve words. She deserved silence. The scarf she wore that day? It wasn't hers. I saw the original in one of the unit photos. It belonged to a woman named Ruth Holloway. 1919 to 1984. And my mother used to call it my lucky wrap. 2 days later, Isaac texted me. She's trying to go public with the journals. A documentary crew reached out. There's a specific kind of nausea that comes from watching the truth get repackaged into content. 3 days after that conversation with my mother, I opened TikTok and saw her face. Not directly, but a blurred-out version of it and a teaser clip from a niche documentary channel. Exclusive, Inside the Mind of a Memory Thief. They didn't name her. They didn't have to. The caption read, She says she didn't steal history, she rescued it. Her daughter disagrees. You ever see your trauma used as a marketing hook? I sat on the bathroom floor shaking, because I realized something awful. She hadn't come to confess. She'd come to control the narrative. The journal wasn't closure. It was PR. I called Agent Morales. He said they couldn't block her from speaking publicly unless it threatened the investigation. But you're the victim, he said. You have the right to tell your side too. I didn't want to. Because it wasn't a side. It was my life. But the pressure started building anyway. Old high school friends messaged me. Is that really your mom? Did you know? Wait, are you, like, famous now? A guy I'd gone on 2 dates with reposted the teaser with a laughing emoji. My old roommate tagged me in a Reddit thread. And my cousin, the only one who ever believed me, left a voicemail. You need to get ahead of this, Em. She's already softening her image. She's gonna spin this into some noble Robin Hood thing. I hung up before the message finished. You ever feel like people are more interested in your pain as long as it makes them curious? I stayed offline for 72 hours. No texts. No news. Just silence. But the worst part? The letters started coming. Handwritten. Neat. From collectors. From amateur historians. From people who thought what my parents did was beautiful. One said, if your family hadn't taken that stained glass window, it would have been bulldozed. You gave it new life. Another, your mom's a preservationist. You should be proud. No return address. Just adoration wrapped in delusion. Like theft was fine as long as it was aesthetic. I almost threw them out. But then I started saving them. One by one. In a red folder labeled Delusions of Grace. Because if this was going to get worse, I needed receipts. I messaged Isaac. Me, she planned it, didn't she? Isaac, you're asking the wrong question. Me, then what's the right one? Isaac. Why did you think she wouldn't? That broke something in me. Because he was right. I did hope. Even after everything, I hoped she'd choose truth. But she didn't. She chose applause. You ever watch someone weaponize remorse? The documentary dropped that Friday. 48 minutes of soft lighting, moody piano, blurred edges. My mom sitting beside one of the stolen quilts saying, it wasn't about theft. It was about memory. You can't steal what people forget. And then the kicker. They showed one of my childhood drawings. The playground sketch. Captioned, Artist unknown. Found in archive. Artist unknown. My handwriting. My signature erased. They used my memory and made it anonymous. That's when I knew. I wasn't just fighting to be believed. I was fighting to exist. So I made a decision. I contacted a reporter who'd messaged me months ago. A woman named Kyra with a background in white-collar crime and stolen art. We talked for 3 hours. No cameras. Just words. I gave her the USB. I gave her the journal copies. And then I gave her the phrase I'd kept buried, the one that echoed every time someone said, legacy, like it was a compliment. They didn't save stories. They rewrote them. With themselves as the heroes. She paused. Can I quote you on that? I said yes. You ever feel your voice return like blood flow to a numb limb? It hurts at first. But then it reminds you you're alive. You ever watch someone sell your pain back to you with better lighting and background music? The original drawing? I found it in a resale post, listed as anonymous art from Americana Salvage Collection. And the seller's location? Middletown. 5 miles from Unit 137B. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. They're going to sue you if you keep talking. You ever get threatened in a text that doesn't even bother pretending to be polite? They're going to sue you if you keep talking. No greeting. No signature. Just a threat. Send at 2:14 a.m., like whoever wrote it knew that's when my defenses were lowest. For a moment I stared at it, unsure if I should laugh or scream. Because that's how it always goes, right? They spend years rewriting the truth, then get mad when you publish the unedited version. I didn't reply. I just screenshotted it. Send it to Kyra. Sent it to Morales. Filed it. Receipts. I wish I could say I felt brave. But mostly I felt tired. Not the kind of tired you fix with sleep, the kind that feels cellular. Like your body's been carrying a story too long and it's starting to buckle under the weight. The documentary stayed up. People praised it. Debated it. Some called her a modern-day curator. Others called me ungrateful. Opportunistic. A liar who turned on her own blood. You ever watch strangers dissect your family like it's a Netflix true crime puzzle? One tweet said, "If my mom saved relics from destruction, I'd call her a hero, not a criminal." Another replied, "Yeah, what if she stole your baby blanket to do it?" That one stayed with me. Because it wasn't just stuff. It was intimacy, memory, belonging. They didn't just steal from other families. They stole from me. From what I could believe. From how I was allowed to remember myself. I kept waiting for closure. But closure isn't real. What's real is learning to live in the echo. To hear the noise and still move forward. So I did something simple. I went back to the park with the rusted swing set. The one I'd drawn when I was 10. I sat on a bench. Listened to kids scream and laugh. Watched a woman kneel in the grass, picking up a dropped sippy cup. And I pulled out my new sketchbook. I didn't draw the swing set. I drew myself, the way I wanted to be remembered. Not as someone who preserved things, but someone who survived them. Then I went home and opened a folder I'd been avoiding. Legal documents. Testimony prep. A preliminary list of items set for restitution. And at the bottom, a note from Morales. Your journals helped verify 63 items. We're returning 28 so far. More pending. You did the right thing, Emma. Even if it doesn't feel like it yet. I stared at those words for a long time. Because maybe that's the real ending. Not a dramatic courtroom finale. Not a viral apology. Just proof that I wasn't complicit. That I chose a different legacy. One last thing. I filed paperwork last week to formally change my last name. Not to erase where I came from, but to stop carrying the version of it they built. My name is Emma Hart now. And the story I tell from here on out is mine. The original swing set drawing? I donated it to the restored park. No plaque. No signature. Just a note on the back. Not everything forgotten is lost. And yesterday I got a package with no return label. Inside, the old compass from our first trip. No note. Just one scratch added to the back. You were never lost.